Want to send a heartfelt thanks to my dear brother Prince. He shows deep love and I embrace it. He is the artistic genius in our midst. He is a musical artist among us. Raise your Socratic questions to the system. Bear witness to justice against the system. Be true to who you are and be true to the grand vision that keeps track of the least of these. Break it down, Brother Prince.
What's wrong with the world today? Things just got to get better. Show me what the leaders say. Maybe we should write a letter. Said, dear Mr. Man, we don't understand why poor people keep struggling, but you don't lend a helping hand. Matthew 5:5 say, the meek shall inherit the earth. We wanna be down that way, but you've been tripping since the day of your birth. Who said that to kill is a sin? It started at Brasenko War that your people beat in. Who says that?
So Prince was my friend, as you know. I miss him dearly. It's been almost 10 years now since his passing. Let that ride, Miles. But I I laugh every time I hear this track because he and I were friends, but we never collaborated on a project together. I introduced these two Negroes to each other, Prince and Dr. West. Next thing I know, they're in studio together. Turn it up, Miles. Turn it up.
How about this big old hole in the ozone? What's wrong with the world today?
With the world today.
Things just got to get better. Dear Mr. Man, we don't understand. Maybe we should write a letter.
Mercy, mercy me, we got a crisis in our ecology. A system of legalized bribery, normalized corruption, leadership of bona fide mediocrity and certified mendacity. What we gon' do?
Listen, ain't no sense in voting. Same song with a different name. Might not be in the back of the bus, but it sure feels just the same. Ain't nothing fair about welfare. Ain't no assistance in aid. No. Ain't nothing affirmative about your actions till the people get paid. Your 1,000 years are up. Now you got to share the land. Section 1, the 14th Amendment says no state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Mr. Man, we want to end this letter with 3 words. We tired of y'all.
We tired of y'all spying on fellow citizens. We tired of y'all lying to justify war. We're tired of y'all torturing innocent people. Let us not forget Matthew 25.
So Doc, tell me, remind me how you and Prince got together on this track together in the studio. Speaking of Minneapolis and sadly what's going on there today.
Yeah, the brother of my blood brother Clifton West and brother Michael Daly who passed and DOA Derek Allen, we came together and put our album together, man. We said we're going to ask Prince. We knew Prince would never allow anybody to use his music when it comes to hip-hop or when it comes to spoken word. But I think owing to his love for you as well as us, he said yes. And we made this record almost 20 years ago now, but you can see the relevance of it. But also I think the relevance of black radio, brother. Let's just be very honest. The quality of the dialogue that you have every day as well as with Sister Connie just recently and so many others. We need voices, courageous voices, but especially black voices that accent the richness of the black freedom tradition. We need it now more than ever. Yeah. And yet at the same time, of course, the levels of attacks and assaults on black radio are so intense as well. And I just want to say that. In some ways, I'm trying to build on Prince's own legacy, because he had the courage to raise his voice in his own artistic way, given his genius. Mm-hmm. And you raised your voice in your own way, given your own genius. And we need more than ever. That's why KBLA 1580 is so crucial. I'm blessed to be a part of it. When Brother Prince says killing is a sin, Sister Renee Good, murdered. That's a sin, a deep sin. Murder is murder, no matter who it is, no matter what color, no matter what country it takes place. And I think we have to be able to say that honestly and connected through the various systems of domination and exploitation that engage in too much death. Not just the economic exploitation, not just the repression, but the killing of precious folk. It could be in Venezuela, it could be in Gaza, it could be in Sudan, it could be in Chicago, it could be in Minneapolis.
We have now further steeped this conversation and this program in Minneapolis by bringing in, give me some more of that Prince, Miles, by bringing in the voice of Prince, my dearly beloved brother and Doc's friend and brother as well. Again, I celebrate the fact that they got together on a collaboration. I never had that honor, but I celebrate them.
You got the guitar now. You got the guitar now.
It's going to be at the Met this summer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Prince's own guitar.
Yeah, I ain't mad at him.
Given to Brother Tavis as a gift of love, a love gift.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. Good guy.
Nobody like him.
More Dr. Cornel West, just getting started here. Just talked to Keith Ellison. He's on the line. We're just trying to get this Zoom thing connected. As I promised, you will hear from the AG in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, in this hour. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
What we gon' do?
Listen, ain't no sense in voting. Same song with a different name. Might not be in the back of the bus, but it sure feels just the same. Ain't nothing fair about welfare. Ain't no assistance in aid. Ain't nothing affirmative about your actions till the people get paid. Your 1,000 years are up. Now you got to share the land. Section 1, the 14th Amendment says no state.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West. Governor Tim Walz was just on CNN making the same point, the same claim that Keith Ellison, the AG of Minnesota, made earlier today on CNN, that the Trump administration has denied Minnesota a role in this shooting investigation. It happened in their state, in the city of Minneapolis, literally just a mile or so away from where they murdered George Floyd, just a mile or so away. That's arresting in and of itself, that this sad and tragic incident happened so close to where Derek Chauvin put his knee on the neck of George Floyd for all those minutes. It was Keith Ellison who brought that case and won that case against Chauvin and all the other officers. And so Governor Walz is saying on CNN moments ago that this administration has denied, the Trump administration that is blocking the state of Minnesota from a role in this shooting investigation. Dr. West is here, and so is Keith Ellison now, the AG in Minnesota. Keith, good to have you on. I haven't talked to you in the new year, so Happy New Year, first of all, my friend.
Well, I wish you was happier, Brother Tavis, but it's always a joy to hear from you and certainly Dr. West. So bless both of you brothers for all you do.
Dr. West?
No, we salute you, though, brother. Love you, man.
Love you, too.
Keith, let me just jump right in. What I mentioned again moments ago, A.G. Ellison, that I called him Keith because we've been friends for so long. I try to respect
right.
him. I try to respect him on the air.
No, that's right.
That's true.
I try to respect him on the air. A.G. Ellison, I should be saying. We saw Tim Walz on CNN earlier. We caught you on CNN earlier, and both of you all are saying the same thing, that the Trump administration is blocking you all from your investigatory role in this process. What does that mean? Unpack that for me.
What that means is that there will not be the level of transparency. There will not be the number of eyes that need to be on the evidence to ultimately make a decision whether or not this officer will be charged or not. There will not be the level of just thoroughness that goes into it. So, as you all know, first there's an investigation, then there's a prosecutorial decision. That's where every case goes. If the investigation is faulty, it's hard to make the prosecution case at all. Or if you do, it's certainly weaker. My question is, what are they afraid of? Are they trying to hide anything? Why don't they want two sets of eyes on this case? I'm gonna tell you, Minneapolis police processed the crime scene with the feds. They did that all together. And so what's the problem? Suddenly they don't want any involvement. It appears as though there's something untoward here. And if they want to prove there's nothing untoward here and that they're going to do a thorough professional job, then great. Let the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension be a part of the investigation per usual.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that. So what it means is that I think all of us need to demand.
Keith, you still there? You still there?
Investigation in this matter.
Got it. Now your audio dropped out just for a second, but you're back now. So
am I back?
No, you're back. You're back. We're fine. We played some audio earlier of the governor, Tim Walz, who called this propaganda, the spin that the administration is putting on this. He called it propaganda. We played some audio of Jacob Fryer, the mayor of Minneapolis. I had to clean it up. He told ICE to get the F out of Minneapolis. He made his point. He made his point of view clear to the extent you can, and maybe you can't because you are the AG. But can you say anything about what you saw on that videotape?
Yeah, but let me make two quick points.
Sure.
Point number one. It appeared to me from the angle that I saw that the agents approached her vehicle, not the other way around. They could have easily just waved her to get out of the way. They didn't. When they approached her vehicle, she appears to back up and in an evasive move, trying to escape them. Then she moves forward and to get away from them, and then they shoot her and kill her. And there's more than one shot. There's not one shot. Whenever there's a defensive, use of force, you expect there to be one shot. There wasn't. There were multiple. These things together indicate to me that there is ample reason to believe and to question the official narrative. And what I mean by official, I just mean what Kristi Noem said. The idea that she needed this woman, and let's say her name now, Renee Nicole Good.
That's right.
The reason the fact that Miss Good needed to be shot for defensive purposes is a highly questionable, and I think is refuted by the video. Now, I would like to see other angles. I would like to talk to more witnesses. I would like to see what the physical evidence says. All these things are legitimate questions, and they're normal and usual. But unfortunately, that is all. Knowing is in jeopardy because of the position that the federal government is taking right now. And I'm like, what do you got to hide? Yeah.
The Washington Post, I want to let Dr. West get in this conversation. He may have a question as well. The Washington Post, A.G. Ellison, and other media outlets are reporting today that this ICE agent was not in the vehicle's path when he fired at the driver. So there are a number of people looking at this, all sorts of forensic experts. Again, they're jumping ahead. They're jumping ahead of A.G. Ellison's investigation, but the rest of us have eyes to see for ourselves. And it is the measured opinion of folk who have expertise in this space that, again, the ICE agent was not in the vehicle's path when he fired at the driver. I don't need the Washington Post to tell me that. I saw that for myself, but I digress, Dr. Cornel West.
No, indeed.
Right.
Indeed. Just trying to be true to my own calling and my own lane, which is to try to tell the truth and bear witness to justice. I think what we hear from the president as well as the Homeland Security Secretary is just an attempt to rationalize gangster behavior, the attempt to justify murder. Murder is murder. I don't care what color. I don't care where it's coming from one person pulling the bullet to the other. I don't care what country. And we just have to be morally consistent. Why? Because the Trump administration, trying to gangsterize the world, really believe that might makes right. And the three of us come from a great black people who were enslaved for 244 years. Not 1 minute did that might make right given what we went to for 244 years. That military might, that economic might was might, but it was never right. Never right. And it took a long time for the organization of the forces in the name of right to overthrow that might. And we have to have folk to say, look, explicitly, we're going to make sure that though they believe might makes right, might never makes right. Right is over against military might, economic might, political might that wants to crush poor people and working people no matter where they are. And that's part of what is so magnificent about KBLA 1580 is that we got spaces where those voices can be put forward, especially at a moment where we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of the country that tried to deal with forms of might and forms of right. And we got to be clear on what is right and what is just sheer military might that tries to gangsterize and attempts to thugify other human beings and other groups. It could be in Venezuela, it could be in Gaza, it could be in a whole host of different contexts. But we dot these I's and make sure people can see the relation between the I's and the T's in terms of the systems that we're struggling against.
A.G. Ellison, for those who are obviously catching up to this story in Minneapolis because of this tragic shooting, take us back a few weeks. And again, no naivete here. I'm in L.A. Dr. West is in L.A. with me today here in studio. This program heard across the country. And we've seen the federal courts of late at least deny Donald Trump access to other cities when it comes to the National Guard, these ICE agents, etc.
Right.
But we experienced that here in L.A. These same ICE agents, as you know, were here in our city with Mayor Karen Bass. Why are these ICE agents in Minneapolis in the first place? Make that connection to the Somali community, if you will.
Well, so let me make a distinction for your audience.
Sure.
The courts have found in our favor, and when I say our, I mean the people of the United States. The courts have found in our favor when it comes to the deployment of the National Guard over and against the wishes of the governor. And so that decision came down recently in Illinois, and there were other similar decisions in California. Now, ICE is different from the National Guard.
Sure.
The National Guards are really the state institutions, and the state must and should have control over them. ICE is different. They're a federal paramilitary organization that doesn't have any local accountability at all. So whereas your National Guard member, y'all might have a nephew or a cousin or a grandson who's in the National Guard of their state. And if you deploy them against their own population, then, that has certain implications. ICE, however, knows no city, no state, no small town. They go where they're told to go. Some of them might be stationed in one place, but they move around. And so they are a paramilitary force. Now, why did they surge? Well, there's this thing about this issue of fraud that has been talked about and tried to be connected to the Somali community. Let me remind everyone, fraud happens all over the country. It happens in every single community. I have prosecuted and convicted 300 people for Medicaid fraud in the last few years. And let me tell you, they come from all religions, all colors, all cultures. It's a multifaceted thing. And so this idea that somehow Somalis are responsible for fraud is a lie. But let me note that the president went on air and said that the Somali community was garbage. That's what he said. He said they make no contribution to society, which is a total lie. But these fraud thing that they're connected to the Somali community was headed by a white woman named Amy Block, who's been convicted of fraud. She led the whole thing. And so that they're forgetting that. And he not only went to prison and convicted, but he was now pardoned by Trump. So keep that in mind. So all this stuff about drugs, he pardoned Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was, they say, moving 400 tons of cocaine in the United States. Yet he's going to capture a foreign leader for it. So one he likes, the other he don't, for doing the same thing. Okay, so let's get down to business. So now they surge these ICE agents. Quite honestly, I and the governor don't have the same levers of control that we would over the National Guard. They are federal agents. They are allowed to operate federally under the leadership of the federal Secretary of Homeland Security. And so while I will argue, and again I got to stay away from the facts of this case, I will argue, and I do believe it is legally right that the state government can prosecute federal agents. We have some supremacy clause issues to manage, but there is no general immunity from criminal prosecution for federal agents who commit state crimes. Okay, and so that's something to keep in mind. But they've surged this group because Trump wants to use issues of race and alienation and issues and use this fraud issue to try to surge in Minneapolis. So that's the long story short. Can I make one point before we break? Because I do think this point needs to be made before we get off. So without regard to what that ICE agent saw, heard, felt, thought at the moment he pulled that trigger, and without regard to the wonderful life of Renee Good, without regard to what happened in those moments, this is the fault and the moral responsibility of Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
Because he's the one, and this goes to your last question, who surged these ICE agents.
That's right.
2,000 ICE agents. And with it, and he didn't say go there and carefully uphold the law as you see it with professionalism and responsibility. He said these people are garbage. Yeah. He said about our Mexican American, he said they were drug dealers and that they're bringing rape and they're bringing drugs. And he's constantly said all these hateful things about immigrants. And so then he surges this group.
Nope, I get you.
Very little training, very little recruitment. And of course, what is the predictable, foreseeable result?
Yep.
The death of a human being.
Yep.
So this is his fault.
Yeah. Are you loud and clear? I got 60 seconds here. I know you got to run anyway. So in the last 60 seconds, I just want to be clear about what I just heard you say. I want to make sure the audience heard you as well. If your investigation, whenever they get out of your way, the federal government allowed you to do what you do as AG in the state of Minnesota, city of Minneapolis, if your investigation finds that this ICE agent who shot and killed this precious Sister Good, if your investigation leads you to a point where he must be prosecuted, you do have the authority to do that, even though he's a federal agent.
Well, the answer is yes, but let me also say the original jurisdiction would be for the county prosecutor.
Got it.
But if the governor assigns me the case or the county attorney asks for my assistance, I would be involved. That's it.
And isn't that exactly what happened in the George Floyd case? That's how you got it?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely and exactly.
That's what I thought. Keith Ellison, I appreciate you, man. I know you got a full schedule. Everybody's after you today. You are the AG in Minnesota, and it means. I just want you to say. I want to say very quickly. It means something to me after all the years of our friendship, and I've been blessed with so many friends in this space that when I text you or call you, they respond, and everybody's chasing them. But we get them on our show for our audience. So I thank you for that, Keith Ellison.
Every time, and may I just say, Tavis, brother, the free and independent media protected by the First Amendment is an indispensable part of the democracy movement right now. So bless you, and may God keep you both. Peace out.
We love you, brother. We love you.
Love you, brother. We'll never forget your precious memory of your magnificent mother. I remember meeting her, man. Lord,
what a dream.
Yeah, all right.
What a dream.
All right, AG Keith Ellison out of Minnesota. Dr. Cornel West is still here. Doc and I will continue for the rest of this half hour. And Victor Newman, Eric Braden in our third and final hour today. But more with Cornel West when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West. First of all, we thank the AG in Minnesota, Keith Ellison, for calling in, as I mentioned. And I meant that sincerely. I don't ever take these things for granted, that I have known so many people and have interviewed so many people and had friendships with so many people. And in moments like these, trust me, I know it. Everybody and their mama is calling him, trying to get him on the phone for an interview and to make sure, to be sure that you heard his comment about the independent media. And so he can do CNN, but he also make sure he talks to independent black-owned media. And that's important. Wasn't that powerful?
It was very powerful, and it's so sincere. It's coming from his heart. And I think people need to know that. We have to defend and support black media, truth-speaking media, justice-bearing media, independent media, but independent media is not out there just to get eyeballs. Mm-hmm. Of course you need eyeballs and ears.
Sure.
But to try to tell the truth, to put a smile on Martin Luther King Jr.'s face.
Yep. So I appreciate A.G. Ellison for putting us on the list today and giving us a lot of time. It was like 20 minutes, man.
I know.
So he gave us some good time, and I appreciate his insights. Again, I think the takeaway from that conversation with Keith is that he does, in fact, have the power. Once they get out of his way, if they stop blocking him, even though this is a federal officer, federal agent, ICE agent, who killed this precious sister Good, Keith has the authority and the power to prosecute that ICE agent for killing this woman, and that's important. And so we shall see how this all works out. But this officer is not out of the water yet. Never mind J.D. Vance saying, and I quoted this earlier, he tweeted earlier today, Vice President Vance, I want every ICE officer to know that their president, vice president, and the entire administration stands behind them. To the radicals, so here we are being called radicals again, to the radicals assaulting them, she didn't assault anybody, but to the radicals assaulting them, doxing them, and threatening them, congratulations. We're going to work even harder to enforce the law. That's J.D. Vance. And so they're doubling down. I just hope that Keith Ellison and his office get a chance to do their investigation, because if what we saw on that videotape holds up, just like what we saw in the videotape regarding George Floyd, Keith Ellison will get a chance to prosecute this ICE agent, and we shall see what happens. But you can't just run around randomly killing people for no good reason. Dr. West said earlier, murder is murder, and there's no doubt about that. I asked this question of Connie, Doc, but I want to get your take on this. We'll get to Martin King in a second about that triple threat that I raised earlier. Yes. I know you want some of that, and I want to give you some of it. But what do you make of the fact that Donald Trump in his comments and J.D. Vance in his comments are showing no remorse? They're not calling for an investigation. They've already called it domestic terrorism, and they are doubling down with, again, no sensitivity at all for the life of this precious sister.
Well, it just shows how cold-hearted and mean-spirited they actually are. And it's a sign, again, just another major step toward American-style fascism in which arbitrary power was used and justified. Mm-hmm. But it's not just the rationalization of murder that's upsetting here for me. But, you see, Sister Renee Good, in the eyes and in words of her loved ones as well as those who knew her, was such a force for good. But she would be characterized as a domestic terrorist. Mm-hmm. That's the language that they use for this precious sister. No grounds, no basis, no evidence, no data, and they come out using that kind of smear to besmirch her reputation after murdering her with her precious child, 6 years old, and he just lost his father, and she's got her wife who saw it with her own eyes. You see, that kind of language. Have you heard either one of those president, Homeland Security Secretary, or the vice president, have they called the Ku Klux Klan domestic terrorists? Not a mumbling word. Of course, you got the genocide. White farmers in South Africa can't say a mumbling word about genocide in Gaza, so we know the double standards going on here. But again, they need to know, given the history of Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan and Napoleon and so many other gangsters that we know in human history that comes from every culture, civilization, and continent, that might in the end is not right. Yeah. And some of us are going to stand up for right in the face of military might, come what may.
Not only have they not called the Klan domestic terrorists, you recall after Charlottesville, Trump said there are good folk on both sides. He told the Proud Boys to stand by.
Yes, he did.
And then when he got in office a second time, he pardoned 1,600 terrorists. Those were domestic terrorists.
Oh, yes.
He pardoned 1,600 of them.
I was there physically with Sekou and the other. We had little 18s Clergy, I'm not clergy. I'm too gangster to be clergy, but I'm a Christian. I follow Jesus. But we were there, and they promised to crush us like cockroaches right in front of our very eyes. And then the president talks about there's good folk. Yeah. I said, oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
That's an important memory not to forget them.
No, we got to remember that. He told them to stand by and said there were good folk on both sides. So, he's not anywhere near the language of domestic terrorism, except when applied to a sister like
Renee.
Yeah, exactly.
Could you imagine?
So speaking of force, you called her a force for good, and her family and friends, of course, you were quoting them, calling her a force for good. Speaking of force, so Stephen Miller yesterday, we got into a bit of this yesterday, but not much. I want to go a little deeper with you. So Stephen Miller yesterday said on CNN or to CNN that the world is governed, in the Trump era, the world is governed by power and force. The world, that's a quote from him, Stephen Miller, that the world is governed by power and force. You can't be more bold or more transparent about your strategy when you say something like that.
That's exactly right. And what he was essentially saying was that he's on the side of Pontius Pilate rather than Jesus. That he's on the side of Thrasymachus in Plato's Republic that argued that might does make right, that power does dictate morality, trying to crush Socrates. And it's true that the Socrates is of the world, and the Jesus is of the world, the Martin Kings of the world, the Fannie Lou Hamers of the world, the Dorothy Days of the world do tend to get crucified. But their crucifixion generates it generates a legacy that goes on in the face of the vicious legacies of Pontius Pilate, of Thrasymachus, of Alexander the Great, Napoleon, Genghis Khan, all of the gangsters of human history.
Yeah. I want to talk when we come forward here about the fear. There is fight back, as Doc often says. The fight back is real, but so is the fear.
Yes, it is.
And I want to talk about both. I want to juxtapose those two things. The fight back that even Connie was talking about a little bit earlier. We need more of the fight back. But let's not be naive about this. This is increasing the level of fear on the part of many people in communities all across this country. And I want to talk about what it means in a moment like this for Donald Trump to be making everybody in Venezuela, in Minneapolis, and everywhere else. He's stoking, these notions of fear. I want to just spend some time sort of unpacking what that means in a moment such as this. You're listening, and I'm glad about it. Dr. Cornel West on Tavis, Smiley.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Dr. Cornel West. I should mention that Victor Newman is in the building.
Brother
Eric Braden.
Eric, the one and only brother Eric himself.
Yeah, we'll get to him at the top of the third and final hour, but we continue our conversation now with Dr. Cornel West. The fight back is real, and we need that now more than ever. We cannot, in a moment like this, bend and break. We can't acquiesce, given the way the Trump administration is showing up. But while the fight back is real, Doc, so is the fear, man.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's part of what we were talking about on Monday when we talked about the attempt to niggerize people and to niggerize especially the third world and the global south, not only trying to convince them that they're less than and inferior, but trying to keep fear and intimidation shot through their hearts and souls so that they don't want to straighten their backs up and raise their voices and organize. I think one of the stories that get overlooked these days is what's happening in the streets of Iran.
That's right. That's right.
And what is that about? Well, it's about resistance to a deeply repressive regime. There's no doubt about that. You just hope that the result will be one that doesn't reproduce more repression and domination. But the ugliness of the repression is real. But they've broken the back of fear. Now, when you break the back of fear, you hope, this is what we learned from Martin, you do it in the name of love and justice, not revenge and retribution and hatred. But you do have to be true to the passion that's inside of you, because when you've been crushed for so long, when you've been pushed against the wall, you do resist. And you hope when you resist is tied to a remembrance and a reverence in which love can still play some role and in which justice will be the consequence or the effect
Yeah,
very much so.
Let me connect that now to MLK and that triple threat. I mentioned to Connie in the first hour. Dr. West is coming up in the second hour, and we're going to talk about this triple threat that Martin talked about. You know it well: racism, poverty, and militarism. When Donald Trump goes on the record last night asking for a $1 trillion defense budget, which is a 50% jump in already oversized budget for a military-industrial complex, that strikes you how?
Oh, that strikes me, as Brother Martin is saying. In fact, and I would add, of course, the fourth one that Martin often talked about, materialism.
That's it.
Because materialism itself is a form of bondage. It's a form of idolatry, and it's tied to greed. So that when, for example, Trump's very honest, what does he talk about? The oil in Venezuela. Mm-hmm. Well, under the Gomez era, under the Jimenez era, what happened to Venezuela? Mm-hmm. Majority of people poor. Foreign companies, U.S. companies for the most part, taking the oil and the profits for the most part going back to America. Mm-hmm. One of the great breakthroughs of Chavez, whether people are going to lie about him or not, was he knocked the poverty down from 48% to 23%. Other poverty was cut 70%. He allowed for the quadrupling of access to literacy and health care across the board. Now, Maduro is not the same as Chavez in terms of quality of persons. I understand that, but the Bolivarian Revolution was attempted to do what? Yeah. To make sure that Venezuela was not just the backyard of U.S. oil companies to squeeze profits out and the people themselves suffering. That is what needs to be talked about when we talk about any form of what Martin was concerned about. Militarism, materialism, racism, xenophobia in any form, no matter what people. It could be Jews, Palestinians, it could be Arabs, it could be Muslims, it could be gays, lesbians, or trans, Irish, or whatever. No hatred against peoples. And then that issue of poverty. And, brother, that's still an issue that most politicians don't want to touch.
Yep. Speaking of politicians, J.D. Vance, Vice President, taking questions from the media at the White House. Vance says, wait for it, that Democrats need to tell people to take it to the ballot box and stop encouraging people to go against ICE. But here's the part that just, I declare. J.D. Vance says he feels sorry for the woman being Ms. Good.
Sister Renee. Mm-hmm.
Said he feels sorry for her not because she lost her life, but because she's a victim of leftist ideology.
Oh, my God. You see.
Our remaining moments with Dr. Cornel West when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West for these next 3 minutes, and then we'll be joined by Eric Braden. Victor Newman is in the building for the third and final hour. As I said earlier, you know him as a brilliant thespian, but for those who follow him, you know he is very political, and maybe political is the wrong word. He's a humanist. He's a top shelf, first order humanist, and so I can't wait to get him in the studio in a few moments and hear what he has to say about all this drama and trauma that we are being engulfed by in this country and, for that matter, around the globe. But you heard me say a moment ago that J.D. Vance, speaking to reporters, said moments ago he feels sorry for Sister Good in Minneapolis, the sister I shot and killed. Not because she lost her life, and I'm paraphrasing this, not because she lost her life, but because she's a victim of leftist ideology.
You know, one of the wonderful things about Brother Eric, who will be coming on your show, is that he's an artist par excellence. And what is distinctive about art is that it keeps track of the humanity of each and every one of us. And what Vance just said, there's not an ounce of integrity or humanity. He reduced Sister Renee to just an object. And that's the worst thing you can do to a person. So shame on him in terms of his lack of any spiritual and moral sensitivity to the humanity of Sister Renee. And that's true whether she was still alive, and that's true now that she's no longer alive. So shame on him. That's part of the lack of humanity and integrity of what we're seeing coming out of the White House, not just at the level of cruelty as policy, but the level of empathy as enemy. That's the worst thing you could say about anybody. You just completely lack empathy. That's Middlemarch right there. That's George Eliot. What happens to a people and individuals when empathy is completely snuffed out?
That's Dr. Cornel West, the lack of empathy as enemy. The lack of empathy as enemy. Somebody ought to meme that and put Cornel West's name on it. I am always honored to have Dr. Cornel West in this second hour. He kicks off hour 2 every Monday and Thursday. Because he's in LA today, we put him to work for the entire hour. So I thank Dr. West. I thank Keith Ellison, the AG in Minnesota. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.